I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Good to be here. Glad to have you along as well. Today is Wednesday, and Wednesday we focus on business entrepreneurship. We do that in partnership with the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, the sponsors, creators of the B Marketplace. The B Marketplace is a virtual marketplace presenting Black entrepreneurs, women in business, women who are leading the way to the promotion, the rediscovery of our entrepreneurial selves. So I'm pleased to have Brittany Alexander, who's been co-piloting with me. Brittany, good to see you again. How are you?
I am well. What about yourself? I'm good
I,
today.
and I didn't get a chance to thank you enough last week. Last week, my technology went west on me or south or somewhere, and you were there, a true professional, picked up the baton and kept things moving. So I wanted to thank you and acknowledge you again for that. You know, this whole series of the B Marketplace, the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, has been and is phenomenal. I'm so glad to have the association with the organization and with these marvelous entrepreneurs, women who believe, women who know, women who have mastered their own destiny, their own uh, thoughts, minds, and direction. They are creating futures in which they win, futures in which we win as a people. So I'm pleased to provide a platform to allow and encourage these entrepreneurs to tell their story and to invite the public to engage, to utilize, to benefit from the value they bring to the marketplace. Take a minute, Brittany, though, and give people more of the backstory on the Black Women's Wealth Alliance.
Yes, so the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, I actually came through the Black Women's Wealth Alliance in 2018. I discovered it because my friend told me about this organization that was all about Black women building wealth. And I'm like, okay, let me get in some of these classes. And so the Black Women's Wealth Alliance is really focused on building wealth for historical Black women. Some of the classes that I've taken through BWWA have been planning for my retirement, everything from marketing assistance, all the way down to just learning different terms and terminology that's well needed when you're building wealth. It's just an amazing organization. Really, really proud of Kenya McKnight, working with Kenya McKnight. I'm actually the new communications manager for the Black Women's Wealth Alliance. So I'm really excited to be a part of an organization that is doing this amazing work, which is so important to our community. The B Marketplace was created in 2020 around the time of the pandemic happening. It was such a need for it because all these startups were happening, right? Right. And Miss Kenya, I call her Miss Kenya, was like, we need a platform for women to be able to showcase their businesses. We need to be able to assist them with some marketing support, getting them out there and putting them on our platform. And that's how the B Marketplace was created. It's been successful so far. So many people are interested in trying to get involved in it. And it's just an amazing thing.
Well, I'm so glad that all of you are doing what you do. And we're glad to have this platform. We're streaming live to the Insight News Facebook page and to our YouTube channel, but we're also streaming live to the Facebook page of the Black Press of America, National Newspaper Publishers Association. We call it the Black Press of America, and our website, our Facebook page is Black Press USA. So if you are watching across either of these platforms, we want to hear from you. We want you to be involved. There's a chat on YouTube, a chat on Facebook. I'm asking AZ, who manages this, to monitor the Facebook chat. And if there's somebody that wants to get in on the conversation, send them a link to have them bring into the conversation, brought into the conversation. Well, I want to begin with our two entrepreneurs who are here today, Yana Shakir, who is the principal at Shakir Consulting Services, and Tamika Jones. Her company is Lip Esteem. Tamika's getting set up. I'm hearing your sound in the background. So, but it's good to see you. Welcome to both of you. Yana, how are you? I'll start with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Mr. McFarlane. Good to see you. How are you? How is your family?
We're all doing well. How is your family? You know, I'm trying to think if you're the same Yana that was friends of my daughter's.
Yes, I'm friends with your daughter.
And you went to Jamaica with us?
No, unfortunately, I didn't make that trip to Jamaica.
Okay. I thought maybe you were one of the kids that went with Celine or Batala. on
No,
one of our trips to Jamaica.
no, but Batal and I, we go way back. We're
Okay.
the same age, and
Okay.
yes.
Great, great. Well, good to see you, and I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Let me read this bio I have to introduce you. Yana Shakir is a Muslim American woman leader that is a descendant of slavery. She's currently the leader of two organizations. One is called Radatul Muhabin, and it's a nonprofit agency for Muslim girls, and Shakir Consulting Services, a culturally specific social services and consulting firm. Ms. Shakir left her government job as a social worker in May 2019 to start her own business to address the racial disparities among historically Black community and other underserved communities in social services, and to assist practitioners and entrepreneurs of color to establish their own businesses and practices. She holds a master's degree in Health and Human Services Administration and is a doctoral candidate at the University of St. Thomas in organization development and change management. I'm so proud of you. I'm so impressed. So, welcome. Talk about, first of all, your vision. What describe the nature of your businesses, and describe them in a way that people can write down the address and the phone number, because if they need or know someone who wants to use your services, we want to make sure that they get the information. So, Yana, go ahead.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for having me today, and thank you to Black Women's Wealth Alliance for hosting us and with this platform and allowing our voices to be heard. A lot of times, as you know, Black women, and in particular, our voices are not heard. They are we don't they're not we're not listened to. We are not supported. We are not given the same networks, the same opportunities as our white counterparts. So this is really valuable experience for me and a valuable opportunity for me, and I really appreciate it. My organization in particular, we try to address Shakir Consulting Services. We try to address racial equity and the racial disparities that exist in the African American community in particular, and also our other African diaspora brothers and sisters and other marginalized and underserved communities of color. When we say racial equity, we look at race can no longer be an indicator or predict our life outcomes, be it in our quality of life and social, being with our quality of life, maybe our health, be it the services that we receive. So we want to take that away. That shouldn't be an indicator of our lives and how our quality of life, our health, our wealth, our career aspirations, etc. So that's what we try to aim to improve, and how we do that is by providing racially equity or culturally specific, culturally responsive services, and we use that lens to provide those services to our clients and the community at large. Right now, we have three programs that we focus on. The first one is our first program that I started by myself. I was the only worker back in January 2020. I secured a contract with Ramsey County with their Aging and Disabilities Department, and we provide culturally specific case management for waiver services. And waiver services is a federal program that allows those who are elderly and disabled to stay in their community, to live in their community, to live in their homes, and not have to go to institutions. So a lot of times it's really is educating the community, because we didn't know about these services. I didn't know about these services until recently. So first and foremost, there's a disparity with knowledge of services that are provided, that are afforded to us, that you qualify for if you're elderly, over the age of 65, or if you're disabled. So with Ramsey County, some of the disparities that exist is that, and in 2018, 32.5% of waiver services were African American. And usually the African American Black community knows about PCA services. So that's as far as we go. But there's other services besides PCA services that you can qualify for. You can get meals. You can get someone to clean your home. You can get transportation. You can get employment services. And the list goes on. And that's the difference between PCA and waiver services. So now in 2020, we have the African American community, 43.1% is taking advantage of those services versus PCA services. But in Ramsey County, 85 point something percent is Caucasian. So they, again, the education, they know about these services and what they qualify for. So in regards to our next program that I started was the housing stabilization services. And that's, again, that's another service that's paid for through Medicaid. And it just started, I believe, in July 2020. And so if you are over the age of 18 and you have a disability and you're homeless or at risk of being homeless, then Medicaid will pay for you to get services to find a home as well as maintain your home. So, and in 2018, in the state of Minnesota, 37% of adults experiencing homelessness identified as African American.
Okay.
And these statistics are severe, great disparities. So with our culturally specific housing stabilization services, we were able to secure a grant with the state of Minnesota to provide, it's called a Disability Innovation Grant, in order to provide culturally specific services for housing. So that is a 2-year grant and will be ending sometime in October of this year. So we've been trying to grow that program and get referrals, and so we continue to do okay. But soon, being across the whole state of Minnesota, there's staffing shortages. So as a small agency, I have the challenge of staffing issues, employee issues. So again, Shakir Consulting Services is looking for new talent, qualified talent that have a passion for racial equity. And then our third program is fairly new. We were able to secure another contract with Ramsey County in January of 2021, and it's called the Parent Support Outreach Program, and the acronym is PSOP. And it's a program for parents. It's kind of an early intervention program for parents that are at risk and families that are at risk of child protection. So a lot of the cases and referrals that we receive are cases that were screened out a report was given to Ramsey County, and then that it didn't meet the threshold to open up for services. So those things, sometimes they will give those referrals to my agency. And as you know, again, severe racial disparities with African American families. In the Minnesota Child Welfare Report in 2013, it was African American families were 3 times more likely to be reported for abuse. And then as well as 4 times as likely for our children to be in out-of-home placement. So, and we know that there's a correlation between child protection and poverty. So this program is a state program. It's not just offered in Ramsey County. It's a statewide program. So every county has this program. But what is so ideal about it is it provides resources for these parents. It provides financial assistance for these parents so they can, sometimes meet their basic needs. So it is a joy, like, and also it's voluntary. So it's not like you have a child protection case. It's not like you have a child protection worker. It's parent driven, parent focused, family focused. We work on goals together. And so that's the third program that we offer with Shakir Consulting Services. And then myself, like you mentioned, Mr. McFarlane, that I'm working on my doctorate. not finished yet. I'm finished with all my coursework, been finished for a long time, but COVID took a hit. So I'm kind of, behind in regards to writing my dissertation. However, I just recently started a new personal initiative that's not tied to Shakir Consulting Services. It's just tied to myself as a practitioner. And it deals with organizations and racial equity as well as change management. And I started a new initiative. It's called Oppression Free Zone.
Mm.
And I just have a book now, or it's not a book actually, it's a journal. And the journal is a simple journal, but it's a tool for you to start thinking about how your organization makes you feel. How have you felt oppressed by your employer, and vice versa? How have you oppressed your employee?
Huh.
So this is a way to make a change, a blueprint for your organization, to maybe do some type of reflection, some type of journaling, to dismantle white supremacy, dismantle racism. I know when I used to didn't work for myself, sometimes some employers, it was really oppressive. There was different stages of oppression. Sometimes you go to work and you can't even breathe, or you don't feel even oppression could be not feeling your authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
being able to be your authentic self. So I've experienced that in plenty of organizations in the past. So that's my new brand. You can get the journal is available on Amazon.com. And I'm going to be working on hopefully a workbook in the future. And I have some other merchandise that I will be promoting soon.
Here's what I'm loving. Thank you so much for that walk through your business enterprises. I'm loving it, loving what you're doing and how. And what I'm loving most, or as much as all of it, is the fact that your story includes that you worked in the government, you were in the professional arena, and you decided that you could take the plunge, take the leap, and go out and probably deliver more value to the marketplace as an entrepreneur, uh, and with more sort of a sense of being accountable and authority. Uh, for the business owner, the buck always stops here. You live or die based on your work, your energy, your investment, your belief, right? And your discovery of the systems and processes that resonate with the market and that can bring a return. And you have, it seems to me, from what you described, in part, been very astute in watching the gaps that exist in the public sector, how our public resources that are intended for the public good are sometimes either intentionally or not. Let's say not intentionally. We'll be giving people the benefit of the doubt, but some people are not getting the resources that they should have access to, and there's a pattern there. And so, like you started off talking about the services for the elderly. I think you called it. Uh, I took notes here, but I moved my notes already. Uh,
It's called
the
waiver services, but
waiver services, right? So I have, and I'll be calling you on this, but I'll do this publicly. You can help me. A 98-year-old mom who's living with her daughters, my sister, and two of my sisters and grandkids here in uh, uh, Twin Cities. And they were living in Florida. They moved back here because she wanted to be around more of others of her children and grandkids. And so I do not know whether all of the resources that are available to them are being utilized.
Yeah.
And so I should have them call you, right? And you could sort of walk them through a checklist, because I know I kind of was aware generally of PCAs, but I don't know the other resources that she may be eligible for, that she should be getting.
Yeah.
And there's no reason we're not getting except for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a system of promoting, explaining, of educating our people about these assets that really we own. This is our tax revenue that
Yeah.
creates this opportunity to respond to the well-being of the entire community. But the structural, often racism or inequity, keeps our people away from the things that we really own and make us feel that somebody's doing us a favor when they're doing their job, and their job ought to be taking care of us. So I'm glad that you've taken the approach and the idea that you've gotten specific knowledge from your career inside government. You see where things have not worked the way they could be, and where there's also an opportunity to make things work, but to do it as a matter of a business as well. Am I reading you right? Am I describing it properly?
Yes, Mr. McFarlane, you are.
Great, great. Well, I think, so the lesson to me, Shakir, is that, Yana, is that a lot of our people are working in corporations, working in, city and county and state government, working in education institutions, and we are developing massive talent, great abilities, great capabilities, great networks, great knowledge and know-how. But somehow we find ourselves settling for clocking in at 9 in the morning or 8:30 or 7, clocking out at 3 and 4, and then going along our merry way, doing our afternoon, social activity, maybe playing some sports, taking care of the kids, all the things that, life brings to you as an adult, as a human being. But what we are not doing enough of, from my point of view, it's only my point of view, is really examining our skills, our strengths, and figuring out ways to capitalize, to monetize the knowledge that we have. We have so much information and so much ability. The world uses our knowledge, our skill to build the world, but doesn't give us credit for it, and nor does it pay us for it. And my prediction is that if we don't ask for our money, we won't get it. What do you mean, Al McFarlane? If you don't bring your knowledge and your gifts to the marketplace as a transactional opportunity, uh, providing customers, the community, businesses with the idea that you can do it better, faster, cheaper, and that they'll be better off for working with you, then you have failed your training and your mission in life. So I'm encouraged by what you are doing and what you're saying. And I'll come back around to that in a few minutes. I use this for a soapbox, and you set me up perfectly. So thank you so much, Ayana. But I want to use this in transition to our other guest today, Tamika Jones, whose company is Lip Esteem. And Tamika's a St. Paul native. She's uh, her notes say taken COVID and unemployment by the reins and started her own plant-based lipstick company. The company is called Lip Esteem. Tamika, good to see you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I want to just apologize for my tardiness. We are in the process of moving,
Mm-hmm.
and so I came into the office and things have moved.
No, no apologies. You're always right on time. Your timing is perfect, and it's so good to see you. So,
Thank
talk
you. Good to
about
see
your
you.
company, Lip Esteem, first, and I'm going to come back and ask you about Tamika and about Ayana, the persons, the individuals. But let's talk about the brand, and I want you to sell some product because of this conversation. So let's talk about that and talk about it like
I,
that.
I love that. That's what I'm here for. First of all, I do want to say thank you again for having me, Black Women's Wealth, and my girl Ayana, who I grew up with. I'm so excited to see you, and I'm so happy with what you're doing. And I was just sitting here listening, like those are awesome programs, Ayana. So
Thank you.
completely proud of you.
And I meant to
Um,
give you a shout out. I'm wearing your living golden.
you're
Is that
wearing Living Golden.
yes? I
Awesome.
forgot to do that, so I'm
I love it.
yes.
That makes my heart happy. Lip Esteem, again, is a plant based, gluten free, cruelty free lipstick line that I started um, right after COVID started when I was furloughed as a makeup artist. Been a makeup artist 20 years off and on. And when I was furloughed, it just really gave me the time to sit and think about who Tamika was as a person. Um, what was I going to do with all the trauma that I was feeling daily? What is my projection? What am I going to leave to my family? Like all these things, I'm sitting on the couch just like trying to figure life out and to answer my questions. And I needed that time because I was always busy working, always busy taking care of something besides Tamika and her goals and her passions. And so when COVID hit, I just decided now is the time to start the brand. I had always wanted to, but I didn't feel like I had the time and the energy and the focus to actually make a brand come about. So I purchased all of the plant-based good ingredients that I could find, and I started mixing because I always thought I was a chemist. And so I said, oh, I can make these lipsticks myself. And one tube came out fine, and then the other ones were awful. They were breaking, or it was too waxy, so no color was coming out, or it was too shiny. So what I did was I did my research and I found a company who makes lipsticks. And we collaborated, and now we have Lip Esteem. And Lip Esteem has really been a joy. I'm in my second year. It's been a joy to be able to have a product based company that is actually meant to make people feel good. Like when you're on a Zoom call, sometimes if everything else is a little haywire, you could put on your lipstick and feel like you're ready for your call. The other thing that was important to me was because of the civil unrest that was happening in the Twin Cities, I wanted to find a way to bring joy, happiness, and beauty back into such an ugly situation. And so for me, that was to bring all cultures together, one tube at a time. And so that's Lip Esteem, and we continue to do that. We continue to grow slowly, but it's at a pace that's comfortable for me. I'm not stressed out. I'm not high anxiety. In fact, I'm still happy. My daughter, who is my director of operations now, I have a full-time employee. She said, "Mom, you know what? I like how you move when it comes to Lip Esteem because you still seem happy in your second year to be doing it. You're still coming up with ideas, and you're still like, you're glowing about your business." And I'm glad to be able to be that reflection for her. So that's Lip Esteem.
Well, wonderful story. I'm so glad to hear it, and I'm so glad to feel the enthusiasm in your voice. You are a phenomenal communicator. I could just listen to you talk
Oh,
for
thank you.
all day. I mean, you're weaving a story, and it seemed to me the way you talk about what you're doing is probably reflective of the power of what you do. Because what I sense in your language, your voice, your tone is a certain perfection,
Yeah.
a certain excellence. And so it's a joy to hear your voice and to hear you talk about what you're talking about. And if that passion is there in the voice, wow, what must the product be, is what I'm saying. So, I want to make sure that if you have a website, we show people your website so people can buy your product. I want to you recommend to me a suite of your products that I can buy for my daughters and my wife. If there's a collection or a set that I can give as gifts, I want to buy that from you. I want to buy it from you. So
I appreciate that.
you put together a gift package that
Okay.
would be for all the great women in my life, and we love to share that with them. And if you have a website, we can go through your website. Do you have one up yet or not? Do you have a website?
Well, I have one.
Mhm.
It's lipesteem.com.
Maybe
I'll
Brittany
share
can
it.
bring it up. Yeah,
Yep,
and
I'm
share it.
bringing it
Yeah.
up right now. Let me get it for you.
Okay.
I also, my dad, who's very excited about the brand
Hmm.
and excited for me, also made me come up with a men's lip balm.
Okay.
It's called So Smooth.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it's all plant based, and it's a
Well,
wonderful product, especially right
well,
now. It's freezing outside. Our lips
yeah.
are cold and
Yeah.
chapped, and so
Yeah.
it's a great product. It would look awesome
Well,
on you as you do
you
your.
you put that in my order too. I'm about to. I'm actually working from home. I have been for the longest since the COVID, and I
Yeah.
work on a 3-season porch right outside of my bedroom. And
Yeah.
I hate to admit this, but it's cold. I'm going to put my hat on because
Okay.
I'm sitting here freezing doing the show, and I've got a space heater, but it is still cold. But anyway, we're all good.
You guys see my screen?
Huh?
Can you see the screen that I'm
Yeah.
We
sharing?
do. We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tamika, you
So
tell me how to guide because I just be
yeah,
scrolling.
walk
I
us
mean,
through it.
so you can
Walk us through it.
just scroll down and keep shining, and then let's see. So you can shop here. My site is such where if you choose one thing, then there's also a part of the website that says if you choose this, then you also will like this. So if you choose Purple Rain lipstick, then you can choose Eggplant lip liner, and it goes as a great collection. Um, that all is going to change because we're moving from the university in St. Paul right over to my old neighborhood of Rondo, which is going to be on Selby and Victoria. We move this week.
Great.
And so on the website, it will give you all the options from hemp lip glosses to liquid matte lipsticks. So that's the all day lipstick that we have, Lady. And I love the names because they're all things that I've chosen as positive words and affirmations for whomever puts on our product. So yes, Lady is a beautiful color. So it's pretty simple to navigate through there. I also like the fact that there is a contact me at the bottom, and people can definitely email me or call if they can't figure out what it is that they need or what colors I would suggest. I'm always open to that. I also do makeovers. Like I said, I've been a makeup artist for 20, well, we're not going to share all that, but for a long time. And so I love to do really natural looks. You know, there's something that people say called beat the face. I want my face beat. Well, you will not be calling Lip Esteem for that. We do not beat anything when it comes to women. We also don't slay anything because I feel like those are negative terms. So what we do is we emphasize beauty, and we also have tutorials on YouTube, and that's going to be growing as time goes on, but it's fun. It's fun to be able to play in makeup for a living on my own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, Mr. McFarlane, but I am on the television series, The Small Business Revolution,
Aha.
that came to the Twin Cities. So I'm season 6, episode 3, where they follow my journey. And the funny part of that whole episode or the whole situation for me is I had not one thing that I needed to qualify to be on that show.
And so what
You
happened?
hear me?
Yes. So how did it happen?
I trusted, I
Mm-hmm.
believed
Mm-hmm.
in that small inner voice that was talking to me and saying, you may not have it, but I still want you to fill out this application.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, they need somebody that has a storefront. I'm in my 1-bedroom apartment. They don't want to come in and fix this. They can't.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
without someone else's permission.
Mm-hmm.
That small still voice said, keep going. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed. This isn't the home that I want to be in. And keep, all that talk, whatever you're talking about, child, keep going. And then it said, what neighborhood were you in? Do you live in?
Mm-hmm.
uh Rondo, Midway, what area of civil unrest do you reside, or does the store reside? I'm in the suburbs close to Woodbury.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have what you need,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't, instead of me being embarrassed, how about I just not do this? That
Mm-hmm.
still small voice said, keep going. I said, well, what are you saying? What will I tell these people? Keep going. Tell them you're a Rondo child, born and raised. You are not there, but eventually you want to come back
Mm-hmm.
into that neighborhood. So I put that there. And do you know what they said? We'd love to interview you. After they interviewed me, they said, we'd love to have you on our
Mm-hmm.
show. The person that had not the qualifications in
Mm-hmm.
my mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I say that to say that you don't know. If you feel like you're supposed to do something. You have got to take that jump and that leap.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. McFarlane, I started a lipstick company in the midst of COVID
Mm-hmm.
when everybody was wearing a mask.
And you're doing lipstick.
And I do lipstick. Now, the thing is, if I would have thought about it harder, I would have chosen eyeshadow.
Right.
But I didn't put that much thought into it because for me, it was just automatic. That's what I always wanted to start with. So why not? Sorry.
Well,
I can
no,
keep going.
no, we'll keep going. I mean, what a wonderful story. I love the story. I love what you're saying. I love the testimony. You're talking about having faith. You know,
Mhm.
as you're speaking, Ayana, I'm thinking that both of you are leaders who have an appreciation for and who hear and feel our ancestors, who
Mhm.
operate with a total and complete awareness of all the people whose shoulders you stand on. You see yourself as the connection of everything that existed before and the gateway to everything that will exist through you in this moment. We know, experience, and we celebrate what it means to be a human being, what it means to be alive. And therein, we discover the power to decide, the power to listen to those voices, that small voice that says to Tamika, go ahead, right? That says to Ayana, you've learned this. Now let's take it to the market, take it to the world. So I think it's a wonderful story. And I want to praise you both for that. Let me ask you both about your personal stories more, because personal stories are always fun. And Yana, I mentioned that you and my daughter are a friend from way back. Talk about your growing up. Your bio says you describe yourself as a descendant of slavery. What does that mean to you? What does it mean when you put that in the marketplace as one of your definitions of self?
Well, I am born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota. I have roots in South Carolina. Both of my parents are from South Carolina. Um, the reason why I put descendant of slavery is because, traditionally growing up in Minnesota, the Black community was African descendants of slavery. But now that's kind of transitioned due to the new immigrants and our African diaspora, which is fine. But a lot of times we're totally different and unique. The different needs, different disparities as we discussed today, different support systems, um, different perspectives in life, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to get back to my roots in regards to that. I remember one day, I'm kind of digressing, but I remember one
Go
day
ahead. Yeah.
I went on a trip to the University of Chicago with mostly with undergrad students from University of St. Thomas, and I was the only graduate student there. But we went to the Clinton Foundation's some type of trip that I was awarded like kind of a scholarship for my initiative with my nonprofit. And I remember all of us sitting at a table and kind of like to get to know each other, whatever. And again, like I said, I was the only, like there was a adult facilitator from the university, but I was like, she and I were the only ones that were grown, so to speak. But what I found fascinating was like everybody at that table was like, oh, my family's from Germany. Oh, my family's from this place. Or my family's from Liberia. Or my family's from Gambia. My family came through Ellis Island. And at that time, I wasn't really, I guess, knowledgeable about my roots in regards to where one of my ancestors where they came from and when did they land here in America. But I just was like, wow, it's just kind of just continued to emphasize for me, our light bulb went on, that how our culture was stripped from us.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone at that table but me can say like, yeah, I'm American, but my American is different from the typical white America.
Mm-hmm.
I can be American and not accept it. I can be American and treat it totally different. I can be American and not afforded the same opportunities. So that's the difference. And so that was just a wake up call. But since that trip, I discovered, and it's been out there, that one of my, and I kind of have a family, like I have a family, a cultural genogram that
Hmm.
I've written.
Oh, fantastic.
But anyway, we have an ancestor by the name of Tracy.
Hmm.
She came from the Congo Nation, and she came over here in 1799.
Oh, you jumped all the way in.
1799, and
Okay.
she was sold first sold July 1st, 1799, in Charleston, South Carolina, um, and then sold again in December of that year. And she grew up on a plantation in Jenkinsville, South Carolina, the Martin Plantation.
Hmm.
And so Tracy, all we know is that she has one daughter, but she may have others. And her daughter's name is Katie. And Katie had at least 6 biological children. And most of them were, of course, biracial with the master. But what was ideal about, not ideal, because nothing about slavery was ideal, but what was unique, I would say, the unique
Hmm.
experience of the Martins and Katie and her descendants was that they all stayed as a family. They weren't sold here. They weren't
Hmm. Hmm.
sold. So as a result of that, her family, the Martins, we're 8,000 strong around the world. And we have, they had the opportunity, the brothers, like my descendant Moses, one of Katie's sons, he and his older brother Benjamin, they bought land. They all stayed. So they bought most of the Martins stayed in Jacobsville, South Carolina, and owned most of the land there.
Hmm.
My descendant Moses was also a senator, and during the Reconstruction in South Carolina. And so it's just that who I am and my background and my culture, which has been stripped, are very important to me. But first and foremost, of course, my religion, but also in regards to our ethnicity, our culture is very important to me, and that's who we are, and that's we have to realize like we don't that we they have dehumanized enslaved Africans so bad, and that's why there's so much oppression still exists, even though we're not shackled this way.
Hmm.
And that's we want more for our children. If you know who you are, then no one can take that from you. And so I just kind of just if I could just research all about my history, I would do that. But I haven't had the opportunity. But I do have the opportunity to put some knowledge in the atmosphere, I guess, in the ecosphere.
Hmm.
My dissertation is the lived experiences of Muslim American women leaders who are descendants of slavery.
Hmm.
And why it's taken me so long, besides COVID and besides all my responsibilities that I have, is because nothing has been done about that.
Hmm.
So you have literature about Muslim women leaders,
Hmm.
literature about Black women leaders or African American women leaders. You have some literature about Muslim women in general, but you don't have the experiences of Muslim American women who are descendants of slavery. And with me, so I don't necessarily always fit in as a Muslim woman.
Hmm.
And then I don't necessarily always fit in as a traditional Black woman
Hmm.
because of the religion. So vice versa. So I have this intersectionality that exists and that I'm paving the way and trying to find and leave some type of, not necessarily just generational wealth, but knowledge,
Hmm.
self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth for my daughters. And to know that regardless that you can do whatever you want to do in life.
Well, this is totally fascinating. I don't think people know that many of the Africans that were enslaved and transported to the Americas were Muslims, that Islam had a presence throughout West Africa that predated the imposition of European
Yeah.
uh, uh, Christianity. And I make the distinction between Christianity and the European Christendom, the kingdom of
Right.
Christianity that the Europeans brought and forced upon those they colonized and those they robbed from their homes in Africa, and those they attempted to destroy and decimate by genocide here in the New World. Witness the native populations in North and South America that basically disappeared under the sword and the disease that the European Christians brought with their conquest of the world. And so my question to you then is your embrace, or your, I don't know the right word for it, but your connection and participation, is the line of your engagement in Islam through the well, I'm not sure how to say this, but does it come through, say, Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam? Does it come through the world community of Islam as expressed through, uh, I think, Imam Wallace Muhammad? I think it was Wallace Muhammad, or through another path? How do you come to your religion? Is that a fair question? Yeah.
Yes, my parents and I are different in that regard. My parents came through that same path that you just spoke of. First, they started with the Nation of Islam, and that's more so of a, I would say, Black nationalist group. And then they turned to Orthodox Islam through Wallace D. Muhammad. Myself, I would say I practice Sunni Islam, or just Orthodox Islam, and with no type of I guess racial ethnic part to it, because it's a world religion. However, like I said, I am Black. I am a descendant of slavery, so I do acknowledge that. But Islam is a world religion. When we go to Mecca and visit the house of Allah, we see Muslims of all colors, all shades, and it's so funny that I lived in Saudi Arabia for 3 years, my family and I. And only when I was living there, my husband and I were like, this is the only place that we have been proud to be American. Because because that's what they see. I'm from this place, I'm from that place. We met people from all over the world. And in Saudi Arabia, it's the only place that I felt valued. They didn't care about the color of my skin. They were just infatuated. You're from America, you're Muslim or whatever. Oh, teacher. And that's the only place that my husband and I, we talked about, we felt proud to be American. We had national pride. And then you come back and you're treated differently. Like, that's the only place that I felt that I could be myself.
Right.
I didn't feel oppressed. And then you come back. Unfortunately, I had to come back, and then it started all over again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. It reminds me, as you're speaking, of the first time that I went to where my father's from. Well, my father's father is from Jamaica, right? My father was actually born in Cuba. He and his brothers and sisters, but the family moved back to Jamaica. And the first time I went to Jamaica, I was actually already maybe 20, 21, 22 years old. And what I noticed was that I think I got to the airport in Kingston, and even though I'd lived in Florida for a while, grew up in Kansas City, I think we lived in Minnesota for a bit. I was in the military and out, but I got to Kingston, and the feeling I got was being a place where I wasn't the minority. That was the big feeling, that there were a lot of people there in Jamaica, a lot of Black people. And then what I recognized immediately was that as long as I didn't say anything, I looked like everybody else on the street, and if I was trying to find out where to get a bus, then it was obvious that I was a foreigner or an American, and that would create attention. So I figured out in about 2 seconds, keep your mouth shut and relax. Don't be so uptight. because Americans show up uptight everywhere, right? And we end up being like other Americans, uptight in environments that we're unfamiliar with. And we also, unfortunately, sometimes I think not so much as our white counterparts have this sense of self-importance that really is an arrogance that's not deserved, and it's unbecoming. I mean, that's why there's this image of the ugly American all over the world. And I remember traveling, my wife and I traveled to Mexico with a group from Twin Cities on a trip that we won. My daughter Celine put her hat in a bucket and our name was drawn. We go to Acapulco for a week, right? But Bobby and I were there, and we were just embarrassed and ashamed to be with the white people from Minneapolis and St. Paul. They were rude, nasty, ugly, condescending, dismissive, arrogant. And so we sat and looked, how can they do this? But that's the culture. And that's the same culture and the same attitude that they really want to and have practice against us, and it's a failure of the human family that they have taken that tact. I believe that the redemption that we're all looking at will come from our people, African people, continuing to demonstrate and learn and reconnect to ancient ways of knowing and ways of knowing that celebrate the presence and the power of the Creator in every human being's life, and that celebrates our shared accountability and responsibility to all other living things as well. I loved it, Tamika, when you said you're creating a product that does not involve cruelty. That's saying everything. When you approach lipstick or makeup or cosmetics, but one of your intentions is that this product and this process does not involve cruelty. And I don't know exactly what you meant, but I know what it felt like, and it felt right. And I think it's indicative of an approach, a view of our interconnectedness with everything in creation, everything in the environment. We're not above it, we're not beneath it, we are in it. And all of it we have to be responsible for, because it all has to be responsible to us and for us as well. Tamika, tell your story. Tell me about Tamika growing up. When Tamika was 5, what was on the radar for you?
Oh, I think I was an author at 5. I was very gifted and talented, No, grew up in St. Paul, born and raised. So my mother, same thing. My father was from Batesville, Mississippi, then moved to Chicago, and then moved
Who's your mom
here.
and dad? Who's your mom and dad?
My dad's name is Clarence Jones. He has a show on KMOJ for public health, and then Peggy Jones at the time, both ministers. So I'm a preacher's kid. My mom was an entrepreneur, so she used to work at Hallie Q Brown with Mary Kay Boyd. They had a Women Against Rape, I think, was their first business when she was 19 to 20. And then she moved on to diversity consulting for Fortune 500s. My dad worked as a salesman for a trucking company and my mom and dad ended up having Jones and Associates, which was the diversity consulting firm. Had a brother. It's just my brother Corey and I, and we grew up at Pilgrim Baptist Church in St. Paul. And then, and in our neighborhood, it was more like young Black families. And even though we never had a Black, what you call it, not urban, Black suburb, it still felt that way because everybody was mother, father, children playing outside. If you did wrong, the person down the street was going to get you. And that was in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And so those experiences are what is my core. Those people, Yana's parents and the Wileys and the Saffolds and like Mr. Khalik and Miss Davis, like those
Mhm.
are all people who helped to rear me. And so I
Katie
still,
McWatt.
oh, Katie McGuad and Orly
Mhm. Yep.
Patterson and Kwame
Yep.
McDonald and all of those people were big influences on us as children. I still have a picture of Mr. McDonald. He was in, my dad wrote a play. I think it was at Penumbra, and Mr. McDonald's there with his big old afro and his dashiki, and
Mhm.
and I was two, just
Mhm.
standing in the midst of all these people. And I feel so bad for my daughter. She didn't get that village experience, but that has made me want to continue to give back to young ladies, teach them about inner beauty versus outer beauty. You can be very pretty on the outside, but if you open your mouth and you're nasty, you're not cute, you
That's right.
know.
That's right.
And so those things people aren't telling young people anymore. And so I want to get back into some of those old traditions that I know will be beneficial. So I'm just a St. Paul person. I can't even call myself a young person anymore because I'm 46. Like, I can't even believe that we're almost 50. I remind my aunts, because my aunts were teenagers when, my dad was the oldest.
Mhm.
And so he had four sisters and two brothers. And the youngest aunt was like 14. So she used to carry me on her hip to the roller skating rink on Plymouth. And, like, they can't believe I'm almost 50, because then that makes them feel like they're the age that they really are.
Well, I can tell you that they really secretly admire you for being almost 50 and for them being here to watch and admire and celebrate your continued development. I know both of your parents. Your parents are friends and colleagues and have been influences in my life, and I hope that I've been a support and a service to them over the generation. But I love listening to you, Ayana, and Tamika, because both of you represent and reflect the richness of community, the richness of neighborhood, and the connectedness of our people. And I know you all could sit here and tell stories that would dovetail for the next 20 years because your experiences and the expectations of the elders that they held for both of you, the hope of the elders that were presented to both of you are the same, and you both are fulfilling the destiny in what you do right now. So I'm so pleased and so proud. We're at the end of the hour, but I want Tamika you to give the address, phone number, website, whatever you want to give, so people know how to reach you. I'm going to ask you to put together a sampler package for me.
Yes, sir.
I want to spend about $250. So
Okay.
that's an order that I'm making right now on the phone
Yes, sir.
or on this call with you. And you can just send me a variety of things you think I could make nice gifts for myself, my wife, my daughters,
Okay.
and the group. And then
Okay.
Ayana, I'm going to connect with you business wise because I'm going to ask you to help me make sure that we are taking the best care of our 98-year-old mom. She may be watching the show right now. My sister's watching. I want to say that Deborah Erdley was watching the show, and she left a note on Facebook, I believe, or on YouTube that said, Ayana, thank you for the great work you are doing. I am a nurse educator, but prior to teaching, I was a care coordinator managing uh, elderly waiver benefits with older adults of whom were high risk. So, this conversation is one that is having and resonating with people that are watching. So, thank you, Deborah. Thank you for the work that you have done and for making note. And the thank you for your work at Elderly waiver benefits as well. Final word, Tamika. So, how do people reach you?
So you can reach me at lipesteem.com, on Facebook at lipesteem LLC. You must put that on there. Also, Instagram, lip_esteem. You can find my products at Primrose in the Mall of America, first floor, across from Nordstrom's. Also at Get Gorgeous on Selby and Victoria. And get ready for our new storefront. Be patient, but 651-788-7868.
Yana, how do people connect with you?
You can connect with me on my website as well. Shakir.
We didn't get a chance to. Let's take a minute. Let's go to your website too. Well, we got time. If you have time,
Yeah,
I want to share your website as well. So, Brittany, can you pull it up? Yeah, and have you walk through yours. I didn't think to do that, so I apologize.
And can I say this,
Yeah,
Ayana?
sure.
Excuse me,
But
I am headed to be on Twin Cities Live in a half an hour, so I may have to. Yeah,
take off.
but thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, and
Good
best
to
of
see
luck.
you, Tamika.
Thank you. Good to see
Love
you all.
you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, so we'll look.